What do you think happens when the most volatile asset class meets the most unpredictable political figure? Yes, I'm referring to Donald Trump. Well, the same thing we saw this year on the dollar index, and that is one massive carnage. Now, in less than 1 hour, the crypto market just witnessed the single largest liquidation event in history, wiping out an estimated 19 billion. Yep, we're talking about a market crash or a crypto market crash that made Luno collapse and the FTX fallout look like it was nothing. Now, this all started last week, right as the US stock market closed for the weekend, right? When crypto liquidity is typically at their lowest point. Now, President Trump, like any other person, should have just enjoyed the weekend, have fun with the family. But he basically took out his phone, went on to Truth Social and Twitter to announce a massive escalation in trade tension, specifically threatening 100% tariff on all critical Chinese software and goods. Now, we've seen a lot of trade wars between China and the US before, but the market reaction was instantaneous and very brutal. You know why? Because this wasn't just a political headline, but it was a massive shock to the global macroeconomic system, which immediately started to raise fears of inflation and economic uncertainty. Now, during uncertainty, a lot of people like to pull out their monies out of the market. Now, crypto, which many people see as a hedge or a safe haven, acted exactly like a high-risk asset because that's exactly what it is, right? The second post then went live by Donald Trump, furthering assuring exactly what had happened. And this is where the domino effect started with the crypto history that wiped out the $19 billion. Now, let me explain to you exactly how $19 billion vanished so quickly off the market, right? Now, the initial sell-off came from tariff news triggered pre-stop orders. But in a high leverage market, like crypto, a small drop quickly triggers a liquidation cascade. Think of it like this. Traders are betting with borrowed money, also known as leverage, that had their positions automatically sold off by the exchange to cover their losses. Now, this mass forced selling drove prices even further down, which triggered more liquidation. It's a vicious cycle, and data from a company called CoinGlass shows that there was a whopping 1.6 million traders that got affected by this. Now, the chaos amplified by technical glitches on major exchanges like Binance, where users basically said that their accounts were frozen and failed stop loss orders were triggered, turning on and, basically adding to an already brutal crash into a full-blown panic. And you know what happens when people panic? They starting, because wherever your money is involved, you tend to get very, 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 very crazy. But let's look at how each asset class were affected in this. Now, first on the line, we've got Bitcoin. Now, Bitcoin was sitting at $125,000 and it dropped to $103,000, and that's a loss of about 12% over there. ETH fell over 14%, briefly sliding below the $3,500 mark. Altcoins dropped at 20%, and Dogecoin and XRP dropped at 36% and 31% respectively. Now, the shockwave even hit stablecoins like ETH, the USDE, which is the third largest stablecoin, briefly also lost its leg amidst the entire chaos that was basically going on, right? Now, this is a major sign of basically market stress which had taken place throughout this entire period, right? Now, what the one thing we can learn from that is, right, Bitcoin has proven to be the most stable coin over the period of time, while highly leveraged altcoins were more fragile in this case because people have been investing. Like, I think Bitcoin was like one of the first coins that came out that people were so heavily invested into as well. But we know Donald Trump, right? Today you say this, tomorrow it's a different story. But because, as we can see, if you look at the crypto market where it is now, you can already see that the market has started to claw back a very big, significant portion of those losses. Because as of today, we can already see that the market is showing signs of stabilizing, right? So why the sudden rebound? Why do you think the market went into a panic one day and then the next day, everything just seems to be cool? Well, because the same guy who caused the entire panic, Donald Trump, and his vice president, they made a subsequent statements signaling that a deal with China is still possible, with Trump himself tweeting, "Don't worry about China, it will all be fine." Now, in that tone, immediately eased global trade fears, risk assets, including crypto, rallied. What that basically means is that Donald Trump went from saying, "Guys, you need to panic, things are about to go crazy," to going, "Guys, you don't have to panic, everything's going to be okay." Which is kind of weird. It's kind of weird, right? But in any case, and people are starting to dub this whole thing that Donald Trump did. Okay, they call it the taco strategy, and by some people in the community. And Trump always comes out to change his stories, referring to a loud, well, not in this case, referring to tariffs, and then later on saying that, "You know what, guys, I'm just joking. I didn't mean it like that." But what does this mean for people who basically speculate in the market when it comes to crypto assets, right? This just means that there's another buying opportunity for anybody who wants to get into crypto, and that is not be seen as financial advice. Now, as I always close off with these type of videos, right, the last few days has been a stark reminder of crypto's fundamental sensitivity to macroeconomic developments and political headlines, right? When the world's most powerful economic signal in a trade war like Donald Trump, every market from stock to Bitcoin takes a hit. Now, we all know that Donald Trump has had a very bad history. Back in the days, you guys remember, we used to say that we're waiting for Donald Trump to tweet before we take a trade on the NASDAQ, right? But in any case, so if you are looking at this dip, remember the lessons. Leverage, number one, is a double-edged sword. High leverage amplified these losses to a record level. Bitcoin, don't forget Bitcoin's resilience. Now, BTC or Bitcoin proved to be the safest port in the storm. Headline, risk is real. Remember that political tweets at the end of the day will move the markets instantly. And let me know, what are your thoughts about this crash? If you knew about it, or if it's the first time you're coming to hear about it here, I would like to know if anybody had any crypto in the market when this happened. Have you lost any money because of this? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Guys, thank you for your time. And as always, cheers for ears.